Check, check. Test, test. All right, welcome everyone. I'm only being so pushy with the time because we're broadcasting at the same time, and I got to be over there, I got to be over here. But welcome everyone. Thank you for coming out in such great numbers. My name's Glenn Patterson. Bonjour et bienvenue à tous. Welcome to today's presentation by the Quebec Anglophone Heritage Network. My name's Glenn Patterson, and I'm a project director and digital media specialist at the network, which we call QAHN for short. Merci de nous joindre aujourd'hui à Valcartier. Notre conférence aujourd'hui va se dérouler principalement en anglais, mais lors de notre séance de questions-réponses, vous pouvez poser vos questions dans la langue officielle de votre choix. This event is part of QAHN's annual Heritage Talks lecture series. Our 2026 series is all about musical heritage in Quebec's English-speaking communities, from one side of the province to the other, Our presentations feature a mix of performance, lecture, and participation, and we've been visiting both urban and rural communities. So far we visited Western Quebec, Montreal, the Eastern Townships, the Jacques-Cartier River Valley, and next week we're down in Kinnears Mills in the Chaudière-Appalaches / Northern Eastern Townships. We were also on Zoom all the way against the Labrador border in the lower North Shore. That was a lot of fun. That was on Zoom. So this is our second last talk of the season. And like I said, next week, if you have wheels and you want to get down to Kinnears Mills, we're going to be with your friend James Allen talking about square dance heritage, and we're going to have a dance after. So you're welcome to join us there in person. I want to briefly tell you about the Quebec Anglophone Heritage Network. We're a network of individual and institutional members across the province who are committed to preserving and promoting the history and heritage of Quebec's English-speaking communities. Our membership is open to everyone, regardless of language and place of residence. You can visit me after our presentation today, over there, wherever you find me if you want to know more. We always run a special discount during our events and our broadcasts. So, for normally a year-long membership is $30, but for $20, if you want to become a member, it comes with a subscription to our magazine. That one you can see poking out there has an article about Pine River, which I know is a subject dear to a lot of people in here. And we've done a couple articles about the Valcartier era, including an article about musical heritage about 4 years ago by Sarah Seward. So $20, you get four magazines a year, among other perks, but that's the main one. So this afternoon's presentation touches on something that I've been exploring the last 15 or so years in my work as a fiddle player and music researcher. And that's how do archives and archival sound recordings inspire musical culture in the present day? So we're going to have three presentations from three guest speakers today who have been engaging with archives and using it for inspiring musical heritage work that sheds light into the musical heritage of Valcartier and the surrounding communities and far beyond. So I'm thrilled to introduce today's first presenter, who reached out to us at QAHN about a year ago with her new and exciting innovative archival project. A Quebec City native, Linda Dacres has had multiple careers, one in design, marketing, advertising, film, video, and music production. And then, after a further 30-year career as a registered nurse practitioner with a thriving practice in Cornwall, Ontario, Linda traded in her stethoscope for a guitar and has never looked back. She's now laser-focused on the new McCartney-Dacres project, which has given a new musical life to the poetry of James A. McCartney, 1889 to 1931, known as the Poet Laureate of Valcartier. Linda, welcome to QAHN Heritage Talks. Linda Dacres, everyone.
Thank you, Glenn. How is everybody today? It's great to see familiar faces and getting reacquainted. So I have a little bit. Thank you for that blurb. That was half of my talk. So you know where I'm from. So in the spring, I'm going to read this a bit because I just we're sort of pressed for time here, so rather than make it up, we will ad-lib and we will certainly have some fun in between. In the spring of 2025, I was inspired by Robert Hicks' quest to help promote his interest and to bring to life manuscripts that lay forgotten for over a century when it came to James McCartney's poems. So in June of 2025, I took on the task of composing songs based on the historical poems, and his full name is James Menzies Alexander McCartney. It's quite a mouthful. And he's a Valcartier farmer of Scottish descent who was born in 1889 and who eventually became known as the Bard or the Poet Laureate of Valcartier. How many people here are related to James McCartney? Through marriage, yeah, a lot of people are related to this family. And if you dig through the archives, you might just find out that you are a relative. So these poems, which I consider to be of historic Canadian value, were written between 1908, and I did find one recently that was written in 1925. So from 1908 to 1925, and we're covering the songs from 1908 to 1916, 17. These poems concern topics such as life on local farms, some of which were later expropriated to establish a large military base in Valcartier in preparation of World War I, the Great War. This loss of homes and farmlands was a shattering experience for many families who resorted to taking trains to harvest the wheat fields of the Western Canadian provinces of Manitoba and Saskatchewan and the American state of North Dakota in order to subsidize their losses from the expropriation of their lands. The Great War also led to his poems about battlefield stories, casualties, and the eventual return back home. We learn about a young man's fantasies of finding love at Valcartier's Lake of the Fairies. Despite his quest, James remained unmarried and died in 1931 at the young age of 41. And he died in Jeffrey Hills, and we don't know what he died of. These poems, though, are vivid and heartfelt and should be preserved for future generations. I am convinced that recasting them into contemporary songs will complement the cultural and historical legacy that his poems already represent. The McCartney-Dacres songbook contains 12 of his original compositions. The overall vision is to preserve these unique historical records and first-hand accounts of a critical period of Quebec Anglophone and settler history. I also believe that my work will further enhance the importance of the Anglophone Quebec diaspora as a seminal source in the larger story of Canada's westward expansion. The sampling of songs that I will be performing for you, like a tasting menu of sorts, because we don't have the time to sing the whole song. And some of them have many, many verses. So the sampling that I'll be performing to you will be a shortened presentation in order to fit the format of today's presentation. So we're relying on some technology here. And I have to give you a disclaimer. Remember, I am a nurse practitioner. I'm not a performer. You might have some errors. However, I'm doing it with great joy in my heart. All right. The first song is entitled, wrong one, The Florist. And the songs are, I try to keep very loyal to the names of the poems that you will find on Pat Balcom's genealogy site. And there are a couple of people who have collections, and Joyce McCartney, I want to recognize you in your wonderful work that you've done collecting the history of James McCartney, because we don't know who James McCartney is except through his songs. So I leave you to interpret who he was. So the Florist song, and you'll have to remind me about capos.
Sure, capo.
Capo. Capo changes the key. And sometimes I will sing the song in the wrong key. And I started learning the guitar a year and a half ago, so please forgive me. So we'll start off with a beautiful spring song. It's a gift from James to greet a long-awaited spring after a harsh Quebec winter. Come nature awake from a long and dreamy winter, and pleasure in plenty unto a spring. Come nature with gladness, removing the sadness. 'Tis thus that we greet a most beautiful spring. 'Tis thus that we greet a most beautiful spring. Come daisies, come roses, Dame Nature thus helping, and violets and primrose and sweetest perfume. Come well-known geranium, and welcome sweet williams. In earth's vacant field there is plenty of room. In earth's vacant field there is plenty of room. Thank you. The next is a song concerning James's work excursions to the west in the western provinces of Manitoba and Saskatchewan. And this one is called The Banks of the Souris. It's a combination, if you know his poetry, it's a combination of the Banks of the Souris and the excursion. And there was common topics, and so I had to basically choose the best from both, and it's very much the same story. So here it is, The Banks of the Souris. And this is a river in Manitoba. Come, every brave Canadian boy, wherever that you stray. I have lately took a notion for a little trip away, with a sack upon my shoulder, an unusual pace of my eye, bound for the Turtle Mountains near the North Dakota line. On the 20th of August in the year of 4 and 4, I started for the great Northwest with a half a dozen more, all on the great excursion. To the harvest we did go, to the southern Manitoba, where the boundless wheat fields grow. There were stout hearts from old Quebec on board that special train. There was Johnny, Jack, and Oakley, and Valcartier's Gus McBain. 6 hours spent in Montreal, we met our friend Frank Brown, while resting at the station of that God-forsaken town. Go Habs. Come, every brave Canadian boy, wherever that you stray. I have lately took a notion for a little trip away, with a sack upon my shoulder, an unusual pace of my eye, bound for the Turtle Mountains near the North Dakota line. Thank you. Thank you. Next one is the Far Saskatchewan. A little water break, because I had too much salt on my eggs this morning. So the Far Saskatchewan. Let me just stop the technology here. Good. Capo, did you ask me about my capo?
Capo?
Off.
You didn't tell me which fret to put it on.
Off, 0.
Okay.
Come all ye true farming princes, come brothers of the plough, and listen to the truthful tale which I will tell you now, concerning 3 long happy months that now have fled and gone. We spent them at sweet labor in the far Saskatchewan, in the far Saskatchewan. My name I will not mention, I'm a chap you all know well, brought up by bramble parents, in my childhood days to dwell. I left Valcartier's sunlit banks on the 3rd of August last, to try my lot in those western lands, till harvest days were past. Come all ye true farming princes, come brothers of the plough, and listen to the truthful tale which I will tell you now, concerning 3 long happy months hearts that now have fled and gone. We spend them at sweet labor in the far Saskatchewan, in the far Saskatchewan. Thank you. The next one, he comes back to Valcartier as a young lad. Like, he's got to be like 18 or 19 years old. So what do young men think when they're 18 and 19? So he comes back and he begins a serious search for romantic love. And no better place to start it than at the Lake of the Fairies. Anybody know what I mean about the Lake of the Fairies? Capo 2.
I'm helping you remember if you're helping me remember.
I know. All right, this is a gorgeous song. And if you look at the poem, the last verse tells you, like, okay, now you know my secret, don't go telling everybody. So I left the last verse out of respect to James McCartney. If you really want to go and see it, you'll see the end. But we're only going to play a little snippet here. I love this song. There used to be a time when I was lonesome. There used to be a time when all about seemed blue, when I cuddled down to sleep and the stars would vigil keep for the tamarack woods a mile away or two, and how the little snoozing woodsman would get dreaming of the rabbits and the snares and other things. Down by the lake of the fairies, in the tamarack woods, down by the lake of the fairies, a mile away or two, down by the lake of the fairies, with those wonderful tamarack wings. Down by the lake of the fairies, in the tamarack woods, down by the lake of the fairies, a mile away or two, down by the lake of the fairies, with those wonderful tamarack wings. So the Great War comes to Canada and touches lives both out west and in Valcartier. And these next songs describe life and death at the front lines. And this particular story concerns the Red River, which actually goes through Winnipeg and Manitoba. And Robert Hicks is so anxious to hear this song, and I thought he hasn't heard it yet. And I know he's joining us on the live stream. And so here it is, Robert, for you, my dear. Happy birthday. And happy birthday to your lovely wife, Helen Hicks, today, the 26th of April. So this is a story, if you can imagine this lad in the trenches of the Great War and thinking about his home in the plantation alongside the Red River. And knowing full well, chances are he would never come back to the plantation. Chances are he would die in the war, and we don't know the story. However, he leaves a message in this, and basically it's a message to his mother saying, Mom, go, mother actually, go where the unfading lily grows, and you will find that my heart is there in the plantation with you if I don't come back. So that's the story. And go read his poem because it is a fabulous poem. Sorry about that. Capo?
Capo. 24th fret.
Actually, I think I might have 24 on my electric guitar. Okay. There's a little railway station in the land of sunny dreams, where I first plied my vocation by the cunningest of streams. And I wander in the twilight more than anybody knows what they're doing on the homestead where the wide red river flows. Where the wide red river flows, where the wide red river flows, where the wide red river flows, where the wide red river flows. Thank you. Thank you. There's another war song in there called "The Gallant Signal Boy." It's far too complicated for this today, but there's music written for it. It's wonderful. And we're still in the war era here. And we're looking at the next song. It's "To the Scots Return." So this is sort of after the war, near the end of the war, and coming back home, actually. And it's Capo 24, I love it. Now, for those of you who don't know the bagpipes, there is a line in here that says, "Lay your pipe one solemn pibroch." Pibroch. And many versions of that word, filbroch, fibroch, we didn't know, but it is an actual note when one makes on the actual bagpipe. So I found that out. So for you researchers out there, it's very interesting. Famous Royal Scots Canadian, whom I eulogize this day, when I met and knew and loved you all too swift, you went your way. Now they say the war is over, but with hope for your return. What's the world with all its treasure, if, dear laddie, I must mourn? And lay your pipe one solemn pibroch, fair Valcartier greets the view, and the soldier meets young lassie, who he fondly bid adieu, 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 and rouse the warlocked hearts of lovers, send a thrill through every vein. All to peace a contribution, faith and freedom hands again, again, again. To the Scots return, lads, to the Scots return, lads, to the Scots return, return. To the Scots. Beautiful poem. Okay, so the war's over, but he's now facing death. and he buried a friend. So this touches upon James's, so by theme, it's his spirituality. He's mourning the death of a good friend, and he has a wry take on traveling preachers to the area as well. And this is called By the Grave of a Friend. I did sing this song to him at his grave, up on the hill, St. Andrew's Presbyterian, on the right side. If you're facing the door, he's right on the right side, where the sun shines. And okay, Paul. The sun of heaven's glory shines full on stab and spire. The lifeless elm's branches receive their light and fire, whilst neath in solemn reverence the stranger bears his head beside us narrow chamber where my faithful friend lies dead by the grave of a friend. When love's last hope is blighted and mingled with dust, with faith's foundation shaken, wherein have we trust? In the grave of a friend. By the grave, oh Lord, of a friend, of a friend, of a friend, of a friend. Thank you. Thank you. Next song. This is a hymn. It's truly a hymn, and many, many, many words in it. And I tried, oh my goodness, how am I going to do this? So I came up with a solution. I hope you like it. I need a drink. Go ahead. Cheers.
I think I'd be more useful as a water boy than a table boy.
Capo too, my man. I almost sang it in the wrong key.
How many milliliters is that?
I know. You try coming up here and sing. You'll be drinking other things. Maybe gin or vodka. You never know. All right. So this is called Hymn. The poem is called Hymn. And I tried to find a hook, and I love the line that he has in here. Oh, Father, thou hast set thy children free. So it's called Hymn. Thou hast set thy children free. Oh, blessed Trinity, on high in darkness we implore a knowledge of the living health of thy abundant store. For naught is lost when thou art great, and to be magnified in closer precincts of the heart and other names beside. Perdition like a swallowing cloud would cast our steps astray, without not everlasting God forevermore to stay. So may our guarded spirits tread this mortal scene below, and those who know thy will not dread the present path they go. Then in the height of a grateful song and praise, we will tune our hops to the great Redeemer's ways. For the purpose of our lives would gain us to thee. O Father, thou hast set thy children free. Oh, the purpose of our lives would gain us to thee. Oh, Father, thou hast set thy children free. And now for this fun one. I can hear an accordion in this one. I wonder if there's anybody here who plays accordion. Mr. McCoubry, anybody by that name? All right, Capo 2. This is a lot of fun, and there's only 2 verses, but it's a great story. But have a look at that poem. And it's pretty well word for word. It's called the Great Valcartier of today. When I hear about the moments all beyond my recollection, and watch the way that people strive to reach that great perfection, it would make the devil lonesome if he saw the great display of rejoicement in salvation, of rejoicement in salvation, in the great Valcartier of today. Round the corners of the workshop you might see them slushing beer, then take tablet with communion, supping wine with such good cheer. Then they'll send our hard-earned coppers to the foreign lands away, while many a creature starving, in the great Valcartier of today. And lastly, James might well insist that I leave a gift to all of you, which is what this song is all about, and it's friendship. So I think if he were here, he would dedicate this to you. And of course to him too, vice versa. And it's called A Friend. If all the world's millions were laid at our feet, and the hurrying helpers abandoned the heap, could anything safer to crown this soul sad than the truest heart of a friend, than the truest heart of a friend? Then come not man's graces in metal or stone, if he has to enter the contest alone. For surely as breath between now and the end, companionship is sweet when we share it with a friend. Companionship is sweet when we share it with a friend. Thank you. Thank you. The next is an archival photo montage with superimposed song lyrics. Thank you, Alison Kirkwood, for putting this together. It's wonderful. And it's set to the song called Lord of the Soil, which has been written, performed, and recorded by myself. It's the only professional recording I have, and it was released on Remembrance Day of 2025. and it's taken from the Farmer's Lament, the actual poem itself. And it's a song that's very dear to my heart because my family lost their lands in Pine River as well. And so this was the first song that I chose. I'd like to thank QAHN, the Quebec Anglophone Heritage Network, for their invitation to this event, and the municipality of Saint-Gabriel de Valcartier for providing this venue as well as access to archival resources, and to the Jean Trudel, right? Jean, which I found out today. So many, many thanks to everybody. So we're going to clear the floor and we'll let you look at the Lord of the Soil. And you can read the lyrics, and these are actually the actual poem lyrics. Okay, let's do it.
Yeah, turn the lights up, I guess, and we'll get the, I'll work on getting the guitars.
Can we kill the mics? Did you kill the mics?
Yeah. No, just leave everything there. I can control it here.
No, we're getting rid of the two that we're getting rid of actually.
It's fine. Press soft. And I have it muted anyways, so.
It's Sunday, it's double time.
All good? Okay, all right, let's hear this Lord of the Soil. Thanks for bearing with us, everyone, online and in person. Just waiting for our projector to come back on. Yeah, they go. They'll have this auto feature. I see it.
The lone farmer sat in his house on the plain. He thought of the scenes he'd never see again. He longed for the return of a bright, happy day, when he looked on the fields where his children could play. When our brother of acres once followed his plow, and the country was blessed far better than now. A poor man could prosper, get paid for his toil. No mortal so great as the Lord of the soil. Before speculation among them was known, our men could work happy, the land was their own. They sang and they bargained, endowed with good cheer, and honor was counted of all things most dear. This expropriation has threatened our laws. Our sons have went willing to bleed for this cause. Each bread-winning child shall be taken and sworn, and the friends we love best from our bosoms are torn. When our brother of Vegas once followed his plow, and the country was blessed far better than now. A poor man could prosper, get paid for his toil. No mortal so great as the Lord of the soil. They say we get paid when we give up our right. Then let them turn around and expect us to fight. For a man rising 60, not accustomed to roam, you tear up his lifetime by taking his home. The fields lie at waste where flocks fed in peace. Our scars of fat turkey, our cattle and geese. Our bush lots and fences, their dages let low. They trampled every blade that our size could mow. When our brother of Vegas once followed his plow, and the country was blessed far better than now. A poor man could prosper, get paid for his toil. No mortal so great as the Lord of the soil. The hum of a binder's forever still. The timber wolf sneaks to the top of the hill. Our wholesome contentment we speak of no more. For the bold brazen chupa comes round to the door. They dug their great trenches through our meadowland, and in our rich grain fields their tent rows now stand. They spread desolation for old and for young, and the past of their conduct we leave them unsung. Oh, where is the hope that's held out in return for the homes that we cherish, the hearts that you burn? We cannot forget, for the great kindly hand keeps account of the farmer lamenting his land. When our brother of Vegas once followed his plow, and the country was blessed far better than now. A poor man could prosper, get paid for his toil. No mortal so great as the Lord the soil. No mortal so great as the Lord of the soil.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. I wonder if we could take a few questions for Linda. Is Linda still around? Anyone have any questions they'd like to ask? Linda, you can use this mic up here at the front if you want. Maybe I have one I always want to ask. Who doesn't want to know? You have these poems. The poetry is beautiful. How do you come up with a melody?
$1,000,000 question. Well, I read it and I ingest it and I think about it and I let it marinate and I let it percolate and I look for a hook. Lord of the soil, that was just one little line in there. I thought, that's a great, great word. Lord, and then of the soil, because it's called the Farmer's Lament. And I said, I can do something with Lord of the soil. So I created the hook around, and that's why it repeats and repeats, because in the actual poem it does not. But it's got a Celtic sensibility. I imagined it with some beautiful fiddle in there and some tin flutes and a little bit Irish and Scottish, and certainly a feeling of melancholy and wistfulness and hope for the future, and also to help portray the heartbreak. So the music came around that, and the chords determine themselves, some minor chords, etc. So it's not a hopeful song, but it is a historically important song, and it does document the heartbreak that happened at that time. So that was the hook. And then with so many verses, you also need a bridge. And so that there's a construction to a song. And so the bridge, the hum of the binders, still, and the timber wolf went to the top of the hill. So that just gives you a little bit of a musical break, so it's not all the same going through, because it's very long. This song is 7 minutes and 23 seconds. Very long, but I wanted to capture it in its entirety.
But years ago, that was common. Old songs did last. They had even more verses. But anyways, beautiful. I really like the way you're bringing attention to this poetry. It's a century old now, but I think it's so important how you're approaching this project to bring it into the present, give it like contemporary harmonic sensibility, the chords, the arrangement, and everything. Really fantastic. Do we have any other questions for Linda? Okay, thank you so much, Linda.
So much.
Real pleasure to have you here. Well, thanks for coming on QAHN Heritage Talks and sharing your beautiful project with us.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Standing ovation, wonderful. I'm going to introduce the next speaker, and I'm going to go to that podium and pretend I'm filling out other shoes. Hold on a second. Let's see. That'll work. Test. Hey, it's still working. Okay, so it's a pleasure to introduce the next speaker, someone I've been working with for 15 years. In a way, she's kind of the reason I'm here today, but you can ask me more about that after. But Laura Risk is an associate professor of music at the University of Toronto, Scarborough, with a cross appointment to the faculty of music at the University of Toronto, Scarborough. I think I forgot the Scarborough. Cross appointed to the faculty of music at the University of Toronto. She's also an internationally acclaimed fiddler and has performed and taught Scottish and Quebecois fiddling across North America and overseas. Her album, Traverse, was awarded the 2024 Prix Opus for Album of the Year in the category Traditional Quebecois Music. And her co-production, with Glenn Patterson, of the CD Douglastown Music and Song of the Gaspé Coast received the 2014 Prix Memo for documentation of Quebec's intangible cultural heritage. She holds a PhD in musicology from McGill, where she was awarded the Governor General's Gold Medal for her doctoral research in traditional music in Quebec. So she'll be telling us all about the Fonds Jean Trudel project. This archival collection contains audio and video field recordings made by the folklorist Jean Trudel in Quebec between 1965 and 1977. Trudel, am I giving away your presentation here?
How much were you going to say?
Yeah, you wrote it for me.
You could say that part.
Well, yeah. So Trudel traveled across the province recording musicians and dancers at festivals, concerts. and dance events, as well as in their own homes. Laura has been working on this project for the last 10 years, digitizing, cataloging, and sharing Trudel's field recordings. The project is a co-production of the University of Toronto Scarborough and its Library Digital Scholarship Unit. It's also in collaboration with the Canadian Museum of History, the Conseil québécois du patrimoine vivant, Research Center for the Study of Music, Media, and Place at Memorial University of Newfoundland, my alma mater, and the Cultures of Sound Network. This project is funded in part by grants from the Grammy Museum and the University of Toronto's Connet Fund. Welcome, Laura Risk, to QAHN Heritage Talks.
Thank you. Thanks, Glenn. Thank you, QAHN. And thank you to Linda. That was gorgeous. That was beautiful. Thank you so much. It's really inspiring to hear how that poetry, I was looking at the flyer for this event that has a little picture of one of the pages. I think it's the Far Saskatchewan from his book of poems, and listening to you sing and thinking how amazing that is to go from that written page in an archive to this. So thank you. Fantastic. I think we're going to have some slides. Allison is going to run slides for me. I'm really excited to share the Fonds Jean Trudel with you. This is, oh, yes, there we go. Okay. This is, as Glenn was saying, in a text that I wrote for him, but that was perfect. This is a project I've been working on a long time, and over the past year, I've been traveling to different festivals, and we're doing 2 QAHN heritage talks that connect to the Fonds Jean Trudel, and just trying to bring this collection to some of the places where it was recorded, and sometimes even to families of people whose recordings are in the collection. I'm pausing on this slide just to show you all of the credits on the bottom and to emphasize that this is not just me. There are many people involved in this project. It's been really exciting to be able to work with Judith Klassen, who's a great curator at the Canadian Museum of History. I have 2 librarians at my university, University of Toronto, who are incredible. They've created the site that I'm going to be sharing with you, and of course at Memorial University, at the MMAP Center, there have been what's called indexing, which is taking the raw digital recordings and chopping them up into tracks that we can actually listen to. So thank you to all of those partners. We can go on to the next slide. Okay, so what is the Fonds Jean Trudel? It's a collection. It's actually 13 boxes. These are just some of them. It's 13 boxes of reel-to-reels, mostly. Many of them are audio, some of them are video. Actually, I think you can see down there in the corner, some of them, a little hard to read, but it says Sony videotape. And there's also some documentation. Over here we have some of Jean Trudel's handwritten field notes. So there's essentially 12 boxes, think of like banker's boxes, of recordings and 1 box of documentation. And I can tell you a little bit about where this collection came from as we go along. But I'll tell you that right now it's at the Canadian Museum of History as of, I guess it's been a little over 5 years. It's been at the museum. And I've been working on this project to digitize the recordings and share them. Even though there's 13 boxes, the part that I've been working with is only 4 of those boxes. So I always say this, just to put it out there, that there's another 9 boxes that I barely looked at. These 4 boxes are of Jean Trudel's field recordings. It's his recordings that he made traveling around to events, dances, different communities. The other 9 boxes are things like he had a radio show, so some recordings of his radio show, some tapes that he prepared, I think, to play on the radio show, and then some that we don't really know what they are. So that's a mystery. Maybe it's my next project. But we're really focusing on four boxes and his handwritten field notes. Next slide, please. This is Jean Trudel. He's still very much alive. He was born in 1948. He lives in Quebec City. Unfortunately, his health has not been so good in the last few years. I am in touch with him by email, but he hasn't been able to come out to events. But he knows about what we're doing with the collection, and he's thrilled, which I'm very excited about. A few key facts about this collection. One of the reasons that it really struck me was, as Glenn mentioned, I'm a fiddler, and when you look at archival collections of recordings of traditional music in Quebec, often they're more focused on songs. Nothing against songs, I love songs, but just historically, folklorists and collectors have tended to focus more on songs, stories, text, and instrumental music and dance has been less documented. But Jean Trudel was really interested actually primarily in dancing. He started out trying to document the dances, but if you try to document dances, you'll also document musicians, fiddlers and accordion players and so on, because they're playing for dancing. This collection documents many people who I think of as really major figures in traditional music in Quebec. Joe Bouchard, Philippe Renaud, Antonio Bézinet, Louis Pitou-Boutreau, Jean Carignan. Did I already say Jean Carignan? I'll say it again. Thérèse Rieu, the Verret family, the Verret family from this area, from Charlevoix, but also a number of musicians that some of whom I'd heard of but had never actually heard, and some of whom I'd never heard of, and then when I heard them on the recordings, I was really struck by their playing. Some of those, I'll mention some of the fiddlers that really stood out to me. There's fiddler William Gagnon. I'd heard his name, but I'd never heard him play, and he's in the collection. There's another fiddler, Adrien Gay from Chicoutimi. Again, actually, that was somebody I'd never heard his name, and then when I heard him play fiddle on this, I was just in love with his playing. Another important element of the collection is that Jean Trudel traveled around Quebec quite a bit. I made a list of all the regions that he went to. It's pretty long. Saguenay, Côte-Nord, Bas-Saint-Laurent, Matapédia, Charlevoix, Port-Neuf, Beauce, Montérégie, Chaudière-Appalaches, Abitibi, Lanaudière, Quebec City, Quebec, Montreal, Châteauguay, Les Îles de la Madeleine. So he really traveled around over a period of about 12 years, with a focus in the early 70s. And some of these recordings, he did make copies and they exist elsewhere, but most of them, I'd say about 90%, the only copy of this recording that we have is in his collection. So some of them are quite rare. I'll tell you a little bit about him. He was born in 1948. He grew up in the Quebec City area. He still lives there, as I mentioned. As a young child, he would attend music and dance parties, like veillées or kitchen parties, with the family of his father's family, his paternal family, in the Lanaudière region. And then when he was a teenager, he joined an international, an international folk dance troupe. And then through that became interested in the dances of Quebec, the traditional dances of Quebec. And when he was just 13 or 14 years old, he couldn't remember exactly when, but around that age, he was encouraged by a folklorist who was then teaching at Université Laval, Jean Duberger, to start collecting. So just imagine, I have a 16-year-old daughter at home, and I cannot imagine her 2 years ago starting to go out and collect dances. It's pretty amazing at that age that he was doing this. He purchased his first recording equipment, so a reel-to-reel machine, when he was 16 or 17. And then he started really documenting dancers, dances, instrumentalists. And when he first started, he would sometimes he would write down the dance choreographies and also make a recording. In some of his early recordings, I'll just say this, because if you listen to the collection, you'll notice that some of them, the sound quality varies. It definitely gets better as he ages and he learns how to use the machines. But when he first starts, some of them are, you can hear some music very, very far in the distance and a caller very far in the distance. And then every time the caller says something, he leans into the microphone for the machine and repeats it. So it was kind of his way of documenting the calls. But I think very quickly he figured out it would be better to put the microphone next to the caller and the musicians, and we start getting some good documentation. He bought some video recording equipment in 1972 and started recording video. And this is another really essential part of this collection, is he wasn't just recording audio, but also video starting in the 70s. At that time, portable video technology was just starting, and it was on reel-to-reel. So it's a half-inch reel, but in a magnetic tape format, in a video format. He also has these handwritten notes that you saw. And this is all while he's a teenager, and in his college years. He actually studied philosophy at Laval, and then he did enroll in a master's in Art et Tradition Populaire, which is kind of like the folklore program. He didn't finish it. I did meet him once before his health started really deteriorating, and he told me a little bit about this. It sounds like at that time, I think things have changed, but at that time, the program at Laval felt like his work was too practical. He was too on the ground. He was too much going out and recording things, and from what he described, it sounds like the program actually wanted people to be maybe more intellectualizing traditional music and traditional arts, and he just wanted to be out there recording and documenting and dancing, and also organizing events. He organized some dance events and concerts. He eventually ended up teaching philosophy at a cégep in Quebec, and then he was also involved in the traditional music world in other ways. He produced the disc Jules Verret, with Jules and Lise Verret, which some of you may know this seminal recording. That was for Philo Records in 1977, I think. He wrote liner notes for some traditional music recordings. He was a regular collaborator on Radio Canada in Quebec City and Montreal, doing some traditional music shows. And then in the late 1970s, around 1980, he decided he wanted a complete change of career path, and he moved to the Seychelles Islands and spent many years working there, and also in Cameroon. He taught photography and philosophy, and then eventually moved back here. So he's a bit of a character. Had an exciting life. I'll say a bit more about the collection, then we'll get into some of the recordings and the site that we're working on. You might wonder how I ended up with this set of recordings, or how I ended up working with this set of recordings from 1965 to about 77. About more than 10 years ago, maybe 13, 14 years ago, I heard from a friend in Quebec City. This kind of rumor was circulating in the traditional music world, a fiddling friend, that this collection was in the hands of a photography company, a small historic photography company, because not only was Jean Trudel recording, he took photographs of everything. He was a fantastic photographer. He was taking photographs of these musicians and dancers, but also of Expo 67, for instance, and other events that were happening at the time. And this historic photography company bought his collection. When he moved to the Seychelles Islands, he sold it to them because they wanted the photographs. Sometimes you can buy these little booklets of like Montreal now and then, or Quebec now and then, and they show historic photographs. So they wanted the 15,000 photographs. Luckily for us, they kept the 13 boxes of tapes in their basement, in their climate-controlled basement, and didn't really do anything with it. And so I ended up working with this friend in Quebec City, and we were able to acquire these boxes from the photography company and then donate them to the Canadian Museum of History, where they're being stored, but with the idea that we would find some money to digitize them and try to share them with the public. So that's the story in a nutshell. Let's go on to this. So I've been working on a website. It's up, it's available. After this, you can check it on your phone or on your computer. It's in process. We launched it last year. And just before we get to the site, I want to let you know that it's not fully there, but we're getting close. I've got about 71 events, which is 1,400 tracks, a little over 1,400 tracks that are currently on the site. And we have another 20 events, which is about 200 more tracks, that should be up by this October. We're hoping to finish it for then. We'll go to the next slide. So this is what it looks like when you go to the home page. It's a long URL, but if you just search Fonds Jean Trudel on Google, it will come up. And also I have some flyers that list this, and you can pick that up after. And I love it for people to visit the site and explore the site. So now I'm going to show you a little bit about what you can find online, and then we'll watch a couple of the videos. So when you get to the site, it's bilingual. I'm showing the English page here, but when you actually go to it, you'll probably get to French first. You can toggle on the top. And now we're going to go through a bunch of slides pretty quick. There's an About page if you'd like to know more about Jean Trudel and about the collection and the history of that. The recordings are organized by what we call events. An event is what it sounds like. Jean Trudel goes to a dance evening, for instance, or he goes to visit somebody in their home, or he goes to a presentation that somebody is making about traditional music, and he records that. So some events have 2 tracks in them, some might have 40. It just depends on what the event is. Let's go on to tracks, because we can see that every event, in this case, this is one that's quite local, Mont-Saint-Sacrement, and I'll talk a bit more about, I think we have 9 events that take place at Mont-Saint-Sacrement, just up the road from here. This one is a group of dancers from Saint-Pierre-de-Bretonne who have come to a week-long dance workshop to share their dances. And you can see just some of the events, some of the tracks. This one, I think, has 13 tracks in this event. If you're checking out tracks, you'll notice there's different types of icons. The ones that are just red, like this, mean that there's video on that. Blue, it's just the audio, and then purple, video and audio. So here I should mention that Jean Trudel also was he loved new technology. I'm sure if he was doing this today, he would have the most advanced iPhone and recorder, and he would be like Glenn sitting over there with the whole setup. So at the time, once he bought the video recorder, he would often record audio and video at the same time. So he'd have the video machine going, and sometimes he would set that in one place in the room, and then he'd have an audio recorder, and he'd set the mics often quite close to the musicians. So when we get to those tracks, then there'll be a video track, and there's a separate audio track, and I always encourage people to check them both out because they actually sound quite different. It was a different set of microphones. Let's go on to the next one, and here's a sample of what a track page looks like. This is actually Louis Pitou-Boutreau from the Saguenay-Lac-Saint-Jean region, and you can see there's a video, there's an audio track below, and then in this case I put up the French side of it, but below that is what's called the metadata, which is all the other information. So it's who's playing, what instruments, what's the date, the location, the name of the repertoire. Sometimes we have some notes if we have information about it. What were the original tapes? What are the original tapes that this was on, and so on. All right, let's keep going. A few more things about the site. You can also search by performer or repertoire, or by municipality or region. And check it out, Saint Gabriel de Valcartier. That's the Mont-Saint-Sacrement recordings. And then we also have Stoneham and Tewkesbury. And you'll notice when you go to the event, everything is in black and white, but when you see the event icons, so each event has a little square icon for it, those are colored, and there's a code for the colors. Basically, every region has a code. So this orange right here is like the Quebec City area, and I think that blue is Bas-Saint-Laurent. I don't remember all of the colors, but this is the Ottawa. Oh no, wait. Actually, I can't remember which color that one is because it's. Anyways, there's some step dancing in that colorful region. Yeah. Okay. And also, if an event just has a picture of a tape, it means it's audio only. There's no video. Otherwise, there's a little image of one of the videos. Now, let's go on to, I thought we'd do a little listening, and I hear that you might be able to help me solve a mystery for this collection. So one of the first tapes that Jean Trudel recorded, you can see he's calling it Babine 1, the first reel-to-reel, was in the sous-sol of the church in Tewksbury. And he's recording a dance. There's 6 parts of the Tewksbury quadrille. And this is December 1965, audio only. He hasn't bought his video recorder yet. And you can see on the second page of his notes, he's written violon, accordion, guitar, with no names. So I don't know who's actually playing this. So in this case, when we have the tracks, I just have unknown performers on fiddle, accordion, guitar. But as I was just playing this, we were doing the sound check right before this presentation, and Debbie said, I think I might know who those people are. So we thought we'd play some of these for you, and then if you know who these people are or who they might be, I'll add it to the site when I get home. So let's listen to the first part of the quadrille up here. Okay, I'm having Allison stop it so we can listen to a few more, but it goes on. Each of these is about, I think, 4 or 5 minutes. Let's listen to a couple of the other parts, and then so I put the first 4 parts of the quadrille up here, and then maybe I'll open this up and ask you for thoughts. So here's part 2. Okay, let's listen to part 3 and part 4. So this is part 3. All right, maybe I'll pause there and ask, any thoughts here? Yeah.
The wailings from Stone in my right.
Yeah?
The accordion player is playing this C-sharp accordion. That's what we're playing now.
You think that's the Waylands, eh?
There are 3 brothers in that family, Eddie and Albert, and there was another brother. And their sister actually played the piano. So
Oh,
They play fast. So that's why I think, yes, it's not something they do.
maybe this is, do you think this is the three brothers?
Yeah, the Waylands.
The Waylands. And so Eddie played the accordion? Oh, he's the fiddle player, okay. And Albert played? Raymond was on the accordion?
Yeah, Raymond on the accordion.
And Albert on the guitar?
Guitar, and then their sister on the piano.
Do you know their sister's name?
The whole family plays.
I'm just going to note sister on piano. Is Whelan spelled W-H-E-L-A-N? Oh, good thing I asked. Say that again, W-H-A-L-E-N. And Eddie, E-D-D-I-E? Oh, E-D-D-Y, okay. Albert, A-L-B-E-R-T, and Raymond.
That's the only one that spoke English, the other ones what he spoke French too.
Okay,
But the other brother couldn't speak English.
wow.
But was French.
Did they play regularly in Tewksbury? Okay.
And which church was that, Wesley? Would you guess? Which is it? Like an Is it a Catholic church? Yeah. Okay. We'll have to take a turn up there after the event.
It was the old one that's not there anymore. The dances were in the old church, which is where the old cemetery is, but not the church that you see today.
Okay.
Okay. Amazing.
And we get a double check on Whalens. When I played the tunes for Helen and Stanley and Brian Smith, right away they said that's the Whalens. And the only ones who ever played for those dances were the Barretts in the early days, and then the Whalens.
Oh, okay.
I think we can, and you said Whalens and or Barretts too, so I think
Yeah.
we can confirm that pretty good.
Great. It does not sound like the Verrette to me.
It sounds like
That's a sound that I'm more familiar with.
It sounds like the Whalens, and the
Yeah.
slip I'm giving you has Eddie on it, the CD.
Oh, amazing. Okay. Thank you all. That's great. That's one mystery solved. I should mention that the Verrette family, we have an event of them playing, which is not up on the site yet, but it's for me a really exciting set of recordings. It's audio and video, and in the video they're demonstrating some of their family dances. So keep an eye out for that. I've been in touch by email with Martin Verrette about those recordings because I think they're pretty special family recordings. Okay, can we listen to one more? This one is not an identification. This one I actually know, but I thought I'd share it with you. Oh, take that back. Let's keep going to the fourth part because we haven't listened to it yet. Yeah, so now we know who they are, the Whalens. Here's the fourth part of the quadrille. All right. Okay, let's go on. This is my way of introducing you to one other set of recordings, which is the Mont Saint-Sacrement recording, so another set of local recordings, but quite different because this was an event that brought musicians and dancers from many different places to Mont Saint-Sacrement. I've come back to the homepage to also show you that currently on the homepage after the short description of the collection. If you scroll down, then we have 3 special, I'm calling them special exhibits. Eventually we're going to have more of these and they might move to their own page, but right now you get to them from the homepage. And these are, the first 2 of these are something that the University of Toronto's Connaught Fund, I received a grant from them, and it's allowing me to support kind of projects a little bit similar to what you're doing. They're projects that are musicians, dancers, filmmakers today taking parts of the archive and creating something new with them. So this first one here called Particules Vives is a set of 3 compositions by a guitarist who also works in like traditional music and jazz, and he's created some new compositions using parts of the archive. And then the second one, Thomas Deschênes, is a short film about the fiddler Thomas Deschênes, using all materials from the archives. And the third one is actually, right now it's just a collection of the 9 events that are all about Mont-Saint-Sacrement, and there's a short text from Pierre Chartrand, who's a dancer and dance caller, who was actually at that workshop when he was about 20, and wrote a text about how important it was in his life. Let's go on. So this is what the Mont-Saint-Sacrement page looks like. There's a short text from Pierre. I'll read a little bit of it. Here's how he describes it. He says, so this was a week of music and dance workshops at Mont-Saint-Sacrement. He says, the Fonds Jean Trudel includes 192 items from the Mont-Saint-Sacrement Dance Workshop, which took place in the summer of 1974 and was organized by Jean Trudel and Guy Thomas. The workshop wasn't just an opportunity to make these valuable audiovisual recordings, it was also a highly significant event for the transmission of traditional Québécois dance. It brought together approximately 50 young dancers, most from folk dance troops, including me. It was a turning point for me, both in my understanding of dance and for my career as a dancer and an ethnohistorian. So I thought we'd listen to a couple tracks from this because it's right up the road. So this is, you'll also get to see some of the video recordings. Don't worry, it's not going to be that fuzzy once we start playing it. That's just the screen. So as far as I understand, during this week of dance workshops, Jean Trudel organized groups of dancers and dance callers and musicians from different areas, to different regions, to come and share their dances, share their music. And in this case, we have dancers and musicians from the Saint-Pierre-de-Breton area. So Lauriette Goulet and Hélène Goulet, or La Chance, on piano. And I think the caller is Kenneth Murphy. He didn't write down the name of the caller, but this is my best guess from listening. Some of you might be able to help me with that. So let's watch this video. we're going to stop it there. Can you just go back to the last screen so we can take a look? Does anyone, if anyone knows anything more about this, or, yeah, Tess?
Yeah, I would say it's Kenneth Murphy.
Kenneth Murphy calling?
I would ask James Allen to check that out.
Great, we're going to talk to him next week, so,
He part some of his calls from Kenneth Murphy.
okay,
Be able to
great.
say for sure.
I'm just curious, was anyone here, has anyone here heard of that week-long dance event at Mont Saint-Sacrament, or did anyone here go to it? No, okay. Yeah.
Valcartier, we didn't have a call dances.
You didn't have,
Coming back in style now with different people that Gary and everybody, they're learning that, and it's with James Allen, who's one of the top
yeah,
piano players.
I find it is kind of interesting. There was obviously this huge event, hugely significant for the Quebecois music and dance community, but it's not clear, because there's a rich music and dance culture right here in Valcartier, but it's not clear if they were actually part of the proceedings. Maybe the organizers didn't know about what was right on their doorstep.
yeah. As far as I can tell, the closest to here, that like the musicians and dancers they're bringing in, the closest are Saint Pierre de Breton,
Which is James Allen country.
which is James. Yeah. So yeah, they don't
Tess.
have folks from closer.
James Allen in the early 80s at Caesar's Palace. So the mix there is for sure starting at that point, because there were also the Barrettes and
Right.
Keith Morgan and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think Mont Saint-Sacrament even remembers that this happened. Because I worked, you know, I was involved with Mont Saint-Sacrament for years and looking at the history, and nowhere in all of what they had, they talked, this is totally new to me.
Really?
What was going on, yeah.
Okay.
I'll see if I can check it out with someone up there and see, but I don't think
Yeah. If Mont Saint-Sacrament has like a school historian,
yeah, I'll check it out.
that would be interesting. Great. Well, I'm going to show you one more video to finish this off, and these are not local musicians to this area, but this is also at Mont Saint-Sacrament. One of the things I found really striking about this week of dance workshops is that the house band, the band that was often just playing for the dancing, was Philippe Bruneau on accordion and Joe Bouchard on fiddle. So if you know your traditional music, those are some very, very big names in the world of traditional music. And they were playing for dancing, not for all of the dancing. Sometimes there were other musicians coming in, but they seemed to be there over a number of days. And there's some really wonderful moments in between the dancing when they just sit down and have a jam session. And they're clearly having a great time playing music with each other. And so I thought I'd show you a little bit of this. You can see Guy Thomas is going to be sitting there in the background. Joe Bouchard and Philippe Bruneau are hanging out by the piano on break. And somebody off screen, I'm not sure who, says, how about this tune? It's Riel Béatrice, which is a kind of a classic that Joe Bouchard was really known for. And he picks up his fiddle, and Philippe Bruneau sits down at the piano, and they play this tune. So let's listen to some of that. Thank you very much. Well, that's the. Oh, they keep going, but okay, there we go. That's the Fonds Jean Trudel. Thank you so much for listening and helping me figure out some of the names. And should I take a few questions, or should we move on? Or
yeah, any questions for Laura?
Just thanks for doing this.
I wonder if you could talk a little bit. We talked about the impact this can have in the present day, and I have to say I did notice a lot of feet tapping while those tunes were playing, which is always a good sign. But of course, a lot of people in the Quebec trad scene and beyond are getting into this. I mean, I've even seen a fiddler from Washington State on YouTube saying, "I got this tune from the Fonds Jean Trudel." Can you give a sense of the early reactions and how the impacts this collection is making?
Yeah, I've been thrilled. Really, we launched this website in June of last year, so it's very recent. In fact, we launched it in late June. I think it was like the 29th or 30th. And I've been working for months with these two librarians. So these librarians at the University of Toronto are the ones who have actually helped me build the site. And it was like a secret site. It was, not online. And then about 5 days before the official launch, we put it online, but we didn't share the link with anybody, and it was, it was kind of a hidden site, so we could just check it and make sure there were no problems. And I got to the launch, and Debbie Chakour, who he's a fiddler, came up to me and he said, "I've listened to everything." He said, "It's really great." I said, "We haven't launched it yet." Like, I haven't told anybody what the website URL is. And he said, "Oh, I figured it out." So, yeah, he did a little sleuthing and figured out the URL to get to the site and had listened to all of it before the launch. And there's been many moments like that. It's been really gratifying. I've had many musicians come up to me and say things like, I've listened to Joe Bouchard, but I've never seen him play, and now I'm actually seeing video of him playing. And there's other musicians, William Gagnon, who I mentioned earlier. I've noticed people are starting to learn some of these tunes and play them. Devin Léger in Washington, also some folks in Quebec are starting to learn some tunes from the site and play them. I've had a dance caller. I was playing for a dance weekend about a month ago, and one of the callers, Ghislain Jutra, mentioned to me, he said, I did a workshop in, where was it? I think it was La Pinière a few weeks ago, and he said, and I was looking for local dances from that region, and I went on the Fonds Jean Trudel site, and I found some versions of dances from that region. So it's really exciting to see that, to see the uptake, and I'm also I've also been excited to see these creative projects. So I mentioned there's the composition and the film, and then we have 5 more projects for this year. There's another film, there's a couple of short albums, there's a concert set, all of these drawing on material from the collection. And then as part of I hope I'm allowed to announce this. Well, I think I can announce this here. There's the festival in Quebec City, Festival Estrade, Rendezvous Estrade, which is in October. It's on the Thanksgiving weekend. And we're going to be having our final Jean Trudel event there, where we present the last few events from the collection. And as part of that festival, there's going to be a dance where we're going to dance some of the dances from this. And so there's a couple of callers who are learning some of the dances from the collection and are going to teach them there. So there's a lot of uptake. It's really exciting. Maybe that festival hasn't announced its programming yet, so don't go sharing that online. But
with David Brunel.
But we are going to be there. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Big hand for Laura Risk, everyone. Thank you, Laura.
Thanks, everyone.
I'm gonna hop up to the podium again. Maybe can you get the lights, Allison? Oh, thank you. So we're on to our third and final formal part of the presentation. You know there's going to be a kitchen party after, right? So stick around. But we have another presentation. So this is from Valcartier's favorite daughter. That's him. Debbie Chakour. Since she arrived in Valcartier in 1989, Debbie has been learning about and championing local history and musical tradition. Through her work at Mont Saint-Sacrement, she introduced over 7,000 participants from all over the world to the musical traditions of this community. Amazing. 10 years ago, she helped establish the St. Gabriel de Valcartier Historical Committee to celebrate the 200th anniversary of the opening of the settlement, and has served as its president ever since. In addition to her vast firsthand experience, Debbie brings to the table a background in anthropology, education, and performing arts. Today, she'll be telling us about the committee's efforts to digitize cassette tape recordings of local musicians and singers. She also has a surprise quiz up her sleeve to keep you all on your toes. Welcome, Debbie Chakour.
Hi, everybody. Got your thinking caps on? Great. We've been doing some digital archiving ourselves. Nothing like that yet. We're on step one. But we've found some really great things. So what I'd like to talk to you about is just a little bit about what we've been doing and how we've discovered some treasures. And I'm going to share some of those treasures with you. So I think let's just start, Allison. Yep. And am I moved closer? There we go. Oops. There we go. So I entitled this, What's in the Box? Because what happens when you kind of let it out that you're collecting archives from the community, pictures, whatever, people sometimes bring you a box, and your first question is, what's in the box? So this is a box that was given to us. And it kind of looks like it might hold cassette tapes in there. We were hoping. So we opened it up to see what's in the box, and sure enough, there are tapes. You can go on to the next one too, Allison, the little close-up there. And these were given to us by, I'm not going to say. I'm going to play a little clip of something I found in there and see if you can identify the musician, okay? Fortunately, the box came with a long list of titles so that we can know what's on some of those tapes. But go ahead and let's hear who we're going to listen to. Any guesses? Oh, you're all saying Wesley, but what is Wesley saying? Bernie Monahan. And of course, Wesley learned from Bernie, so you were very close, yes. This is Bernie Monahan. Carol Monahan gave us that whole case full of Bernie's tapes. And fortunately, can you just go back to the list there? Doesn't that just look like Bernie's typewriter? You know, you can always tell if Bernie wrote it. So yes, that was Bernie Monahan. Now, some of you astute musicians out there are going to say, that's Soldier's Joy. You just heard it in the dance. And you're going to also, maybe some of you will say, well, I've never really heard it that way. It's a little bit different than the way we hear it. And when I went into the notes, sure enough, it says that's Bernie playing Soldier's Joy in Willie Shea's style. So if you remember Willie Shea, that was his style in that. Okay, let's go on to the next one. You get, okay, yes, there we go. All right, so here's a box. This box came from Elizabeth Cack. Elizabeth Cack is Blair Cack's daughter. She brought this shoebox to Larry and said, I don't know what's in it, but I think you might be interested. And Larry cornered me at some place and said, I've got this shoebox of stuff from Elizabeth Cack. I think you might be interested. And I think you can figure out what's on there. So he brought them to me. And of course we said, what's in the box? We opened the box to find, just a treasure trove of things that are in there. So without saying any more, I want to play you I found this little treasure of something I never thought I would hear. So listen to this and see if you can tell me who it is.
Jouer avec un accordéon dans les mains? Oui, j'ai commencé à jouer à 12 ans, oui. Oui, mon premier accordéon, j'ai travaillé sur la drave, puis j'ai ramassé assez d'argent pour acheter un accordéon. En travaillant sur la drave, c'est comme ça que ça a commencé? C'est ça. Vous aviez quel âge à ce moment-là? Vous aviez 12 ans? J'avais 12 ans. Vous aviez 12 ans. Mais avant ça, je jouais sur des accordéons et des veillées. Mon oncle qui avait une, puis quand j'ai eu une chance, j'ai essayé ça. J'adore ça. Mais il faut dire que l'accordéon, mon père était un grand joueur de violon irlandais, mais Yves Verrette, il est venu chez nous quand j'avais 7 ans. Puis quand j'ai entendu ce monsieur-là jouer.
So this is somebody speaking in French from here, talking about getting his first accordion when he was 10 or 12 years old. He worked up at the wood camp and got enough money to buy his accordion. And his father was a fiddler. But when he heard I think he said Yves Verrette, who came to the house when he was 6 or 7, he said that was it. It was all accordion for him. Any idea who that is? That's Keith Corrigan. That's Keith Corrigan. This is, I can only imagine Blair sitting with his little cassette recorder next to the radio, because this was a radio program from CKIA 96.1, and it was an en direct recording from the what was then called the Fiat Festival, which is now the Estrade, from 1996. And they were recording some of the music from Valcartier. And this was Keith telling this lovely little story. He goes on and on. It's a long interview. But I just thought that was a little, you don't expect to find that kind of thing in a shoebox that's passed from hand to hand. So, all right, now this one, we're just going to go straight to listen to this. Then I'll tell you about where we found it. I'm not saying anymore. Just go. Let's just say it.
Now if I had a chance to be what I could be, I'd like to be the man in the moon. I'd shine down on earth and out to sea. If I was just a man in the moon, I'd watch the boys and girls down by the seashore. I'd watch the boys and girls down there by the score, do their hugging and their kissing and a lot of things more. If I was just a man in the moon, oh Lordy, how happy I would be. Every night from July to June, how my eyes would water at the sight see. If I was just a man in the moon.
Well, I can see some of you singing along. Okay, if you don't know who's singing it, normally we would hear this guy playing the fiddle. But do you have any guesses who's that singing? It's not Jimmy Kelly. It's Eric Corrigan. It's Eric Corrigan. Who would have known that Eric was singing way back in those days? This came actually from a cassette tape. You can go to the next one there, Allison. A cassette tape from Eric himself. He gave this to me. It was one of the first things we digitized. And you can see it's from, it's a party. He told me, on this tape, I think it says 1959, give or take some, but Elizabeth Cack had the very same tape in her shoebox, and it says it's a party at Frank Hubbard's in August of 1962. So there's some great things we discovered on that. All right, you're doing pretty good. Doing pretty good. Let's play the next track.
Dear Grandma, here's a present, and it came a distance too. A little pot of shamrocks, and it came addressed to you. All the way from Ireland, and a card here mentions more. They're gathered at your birthplace on the banks of Avonmore.
Well, I've heard many of you. Go ahead, everyone at once. Who's that? Magella Murphy. Magella, in 1993, made 4 tapes of singing tons and tons of songs, and these are many old songs, a lot that came from Johnny Murphy, and these are songs he would have brought back from the lumber camp. And in 2004, Terry Cack put them on CDs. And I'd heard about them for a long time, and Don and I kept trying to get together so that we could listen to them. It somehow never worked. There was some pandemic or something that got in the way. But in Elizabeth's box, there were 3 CDs. I don't know if you remember seeing them. And I thought, yes, there they are. And they were like CD 2, 3, and 4. And I went, wait. So I called Don, and he dug around until he found CD number 1. So we have all of these now in our collection. And they're just precious to have all these old songs. We're very glad that Magella was able to do that. That's how they look. Unfortunately, they're all written out. So we have the titles, such as they are. So that's great. All right. Let's go one more. Well, we got a couple more, 3 more, let's say, but here we go.
Now love, it is such a very funny thing, it catches the young and the old. It is like a plate of boarding house hash, for many a man it has sold. It makes you feel like a freshwater eel and causes your head to swell. You lose your mind, for love is blind, and it empties your pocketbook as well. Now boys, keep away from the girls, I say, and give them lots of room. For when you are wed, they will bang you on the head with the bald-headed end of the broom. Yeah, well,
All right, that's maybe a little trickier. Anybody know who that is? You know who that is? It's William Craig. That's exactly who that is. And I think this, correct me if I'm wrong, Larry, I think you sat down with William and got him to record, but not the whole song. He sang the first verse, maybe the chorus. We have all of the lyric sheets we've got. You can put the next slide up there. The list of the songs that are there, so it's a really great resource for us, because it's one thing to find the words of a song, but if you don't remember how the tune goes, you can't sing it. So we have a little cheat sheet of all of these songs from William Craig. So, and thank you, Larry. Larry helped me get those digitized there. All right. Now, we're going to go back to the recordings of Bernie Moynihan, and we're going to go into Caesar's Palace. And we're going to have a bit of a house party to get us in the mood here. But it's a house party that's got, there's just a wonderful little twist in there that I'm not sure everyone is aware of. So we're going to have 3 little clips from the same house party, okay? So we're going to start with one, and you can just listen to that. You don't have to identify any particular person because it's everyone. But let's just start with a little bit of the house party. Bonus points if you can name the tune. Is that Father O'Flynn, I think, isn't it? I think that's Father O'Flynn, yeah. Okay, so we're getting up to the real question in a few minutes, but let me ease you up to it. So we had 4 accordions playing. We had Yverette, Keith Corrigan, Billy Corrigan, and Bernie Moynihan. And on piano, we had our own Marjorie McCoubrey, Helen Corrigan, Doris Gosselin, Lucie Verrette, and on saxophone, we didn't hear it there, but there was a saxophone, and it just says M. Siwi, Monsieur Siwi. If anyone knows his first name, let me know later. And we also had Romeo Verrette playing accordion and bones. And I know that later in the tape we actually hear tick, 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 and I thought, is someone step dancing? But no, it was the bones playing. So, all right, now, I didn't tell you who the fiddlers were because that's where we're coming to the main question of the day here. So I'm going to let's play this next little sound clip. And I want you to listen to the fiddle. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll give you a hint. There's 5 fiddlers who are at this party. I want you to listen to this fiddle and see if you can identify this particular fiddler. Let's just say, no, that's not Eric. Eric was a good fiddler, but that's not Eric. No. No. Is what? Very well could be Jean Carignan. I think it is. Here's the fiddlers who were at that party. Jean Carignan, T. Jean, Eric Corrigan, Lisa Ornstein, Paul Gosselin, and T. Conway. And you can just tell by that ornate thing that he was doing there, I think that's Jean Carignan. But huh? It's not Lisa. No. Okay, well, I know it's not Eric. That takes out 2. But I think that's Jean Carignan at Caesar's Palace. And again, we're saying this is 1982. How in the world did T. Jean Carignan, one of the arguably best fiddlers in Quebec all time, how did he end up in our little village playing with the gang over at Caesar's? Were any of you at that party in 1982? You were? Yeah? Okay. Must have been something. I'm going to give you a hint as to how that happened. Now, in this next little clip, you're going to hear fiddle, but you're going to hear another instrument come in doing a little bit of harmony work, a little bit of second melody with the fiddle, and that's going to give you a hint as to who it was that helped make this happen. Okay? Could you hear what that other instrument is, first of all? It's a little whistle, yeah, a little recorder. It's a little wooden recorder that plays in D. And this is from our very own Pierre-Antoine Landry, who is playing with us. You see him sometimes. He's not able to be here today. He wasn't feeling well. He might be watching this live. If you are, Pierre-Antoine, thank you very much. Pierre-Antoine has a wonderful story about how Jean Carignan came here to Valcartier. One of our next projects, as soon as I can get it off the ground, is to interview Pierre-Antoine to say how it is that he could take a C recorder and play in D and make it a D recorder, which is such a story in itself, and how is it that he got Jean Carignan to come up here to play at Caesar's Palace. So that's next on our list. Our archives are growing. Our archives are growing. So that's great. Okay, I think what we're going to do now is just go back to the party where we heard Eric singing, house party there, because we need to inspire ourselves here for our own house party that will follow this event. And so I just want to play a little bit of this last one. I think you're all going to know who this is, but let's just listen to it.
O.M. is the Mars we put in our gams, and N is the needle we mend our old pan. O is the owl that hoots in the night, and P is
you know the chorus, just join in.
Delight. So merry, so merry, so merry are we, no mortal on earth are as happy as we. Down the shanty quite well, and there's nothing goes wrong.
And who is it, Don? Francis Cack. That's Francis Cack, with everybody there joining in on the chorus. So I started it in the middle because I took the verse that had the least amount of people shouting in the background, and and had the best. The best volume there. So we have now officially 5 collections in our digital archive. Some of them are one tape big, and some of them are a suitcase full big. Some of them a shoebox big, but there's lots of work left to be done. And we have lots of Bernies left to digitize. And then as we were taking photos of Bernie's suitcase full of cassettes, we looked up on the top shelf and, go ahead, there's still lots of work to be done. So if anybody has a reel-to-reel, you do. And I know you do because you are way over there. We are just really curious to see maybe what's on these particular reel-to-reel. So you did very well on your quiz. You know your Valcartier music. Just one last what's in the box question for you. If you didn't notice it on the back table as you came in, there's a box with a sign on it that says, "What's in the box?" There it is. You can maybe guess what might be in there. An accordion, okay. And take a look at these little locks. I just love these little locks. I wasn't even sure I would know how to figure out how to get into it. But we're very, very pleased to have in our collection, you can go ahead, Bernie Monahan's accordion. Yes, it's just a beautiful little accordion, and we hopefully one day we'll have a way to be able to safely exhibit it, because it would be lovely to have, and we're just very happy to have been given this precious treasure from our community. So that concludes my part of this. Do you have any questions before I give my final word? Yeah. You know where I live. Come see me. So, yeah.
I do. I always have questions.
Okay.
What's next?
What's next? Well, we still have lots to digitize, of Bernie's. We have also, see if we can find out what's on these reel-to-reel. We'd like to get them in a place where we can get them up online so that people can have access to them. In the fall, we're going to start our very own YouTube channel, and maybe we'll be able to put some of this music up on our channel to make it shareable, because we'd like people to be able to hear this and spread it around. So that's next.
Beautiful. Thank you, Debbie.
So very good.
Yeah, big hand for Debbie. Lovely.
Before I go sit down and give you the
I'll introduce.
But let me just say this while I'm up here, is that on the table in the back where you see the accordion, we also, as a historical committee, started a book 10 years ago when we got started with our settlement days. And if you don't mind, there's a page there for you all to sign on your way out. It's just a really lovely memory of all of the events that we've been having. And just on behalf of the historical committee, thank you so much to QAHN. Thank you so much to Linda and Laura being part of this really wonderful day of bringing that past to the present and on to the future. So
Debbie,
thank you very much.
I've never had so much fun listening to archival recordings. What a great educator and just animator. Another hand for Debbie Chakour. All the work she's done. Thank you so much. Always a pleasure to work with you, Debbie. I'm going to hop up to the podium. I wonder if we can get the lights back on. And we have a special guest. Let's see. Yes. Can we get the main lights back on? Thank you. All right. So today you heard about the historic poems of James and McCartney and how Linda brought them to life in the modern day with her original compositions. While researching the material, Debbie learned that one of his poems had already been put to music and had been sung in the community. This had been almost entirely forgotten. Fortunately, Marjorie McCoubrey not only remembered that it had been sung, but was also able to sing it. And as far as we know, she and her son were the only people who still remembered the air that went to the words. Today, we have with us Larry Hamilton from Shannon. He's a local singer and step dancer, a longtime friend of Valcartier, and who's long delighted friends and neighbors here as a singer and step dancer. And he graciously agreed to learn the tune that went to this poem and sing an excerpt of it for you here today, thus bringing our archiving efforts full circle. So what started as an effort to digitize a written piece of history has now turned into a revival of the art through Linda and the preservation and performance of a piece of musical heritage that was in danger of being lost. Big hand for Larry Hamilton. Welcome, Larry. Thank you so much for doing this.
Local singer, retired dancer. I have to.
There's a light
Oh yeah, I'll turn it on if you like.
Should be all
Can I
right.
figure out how to work this? That's probably that button, right?
Modern technology.
How about that?
Good. I have to apologize to Mrs. Dacres because I'm going to sing a song that you did part of today. But seeing as that I'm a one-trick pony, I guess I'm going to have to go ahead and do it. I don't have much choice. I have to get the key off my phone here because I would start on the wrong one if I didn't. It'll only be a second.
Modern technology. How did they do it in the old days?
Not sure. Come all you true-born farming princes, my brothers of the plough, and listen to this truthful tale which I will tell you now, concerning 3 long happy months that now have fled and gone. We spent them at sweet labor in the far Saskatchewan. My name I will not mention, I'm a chap you all know well. Brought up by humble parents in my childhood days to dwell. I left Valcartier's sun-filled banks on the 3rd of August last, to try my lot in those western lands till the harvest days were past. There's a fleeting glimpse of Vallier Street, and we are on our way to the tramping of conductors' feet and accordions' wily play. Some sang the Lass of Lancashire, some the banks of Boyne, while others heaped good measure with the days of old Lang Syne. There is a man called Charlie Street, I mean to let you know, and with his threshing outfit we have all laid out to go. But the harvest is not ready and the haying's in full swing. I've hired with Clifford Longham, could I do a better thing? Here's to the gallant comrades that we now leave behind. To the mountains may divide us, we will bear them still in mind. Mid the wheat fields of the prairie, or Port Arthur's breaks of snow, they're a credit to Valcartier homes wherever they do go. My train pulls out from Kennedy, I can no longer stay. A dear and patient mother writes, what's keeping my boy away? So I'll hit the planks of old Quebec next Monday morn at dawn. Thus I quit bonanza farming in the far Saskatchewan.
Larry Hamilton, everyone. Thank you so much. Wow, full circle indeed. Beautiful job, Larry. Thank you for sharing that. I met Larry my first trip here in 2019, and such a pleasure to get to know him and hear his music. You're a real treasure, Larry. You're too humble, but it's true. I want to thank our 3 presenters and our special guests today, Linda Dacres, Laura Risk, Debbie Chakour, and Larry Hamilton, for their inspiring presentations and helping us appreciate the wealth of beautiful music that's waiting for us and future generations in these public archives. Like much of the work that QAHN has been doing involving hybrid online and in-person events, today's tech production would not have been possible without the talented Alison Kirkwood working the cameras and presentation media and helping with the hours of setup involved in these broadcasts. So a big hand for Alison as well. Thank you, Alison. Thanks as well to our local host organization, the St. Gabriel de Valcartier Historical Committee, for making this venue available for our gathering, and to all the volunteers who always come out from the committee with all the help getting set up and the snacks. I also want a special shout out to Betty's Quilters and Bev McKinley. I don't know, Allison, if you could do some fancy camera work, some panning, it would be great to see what, I don't know which one. Let's see what happens. Do it on both of them. But yeah, maybe do that one. You can, all right. Yeah, so they brought these beautiful quilts yesterday. So take some time afterwards to take a closer look before you leave. So support for our annual Heritage Talks series comes from the Zeller Family Foundation, Canadian Heritage, and the Townshippers Foundation. Finally, a big thank you to all of you who expressed your interest and came out today in person or online to enjoy the music and the archives. Debbie has asked me to tell you that next month the Historical Committee will be launching their new documentary, which is about the history of Valcartier Elementary School, a project which QAHN helped support in the early days. There's the flyers on the back table if you want more information about that. What's the date on that? May something. May 24th, almost exactly a month away. And as Laura mentioned, next Sunday, May 3rd, myself, Laura, and Allison will be heading down to Kinnears Mills for our final talk of the season, in person only, about local square dance heritage. I talked about that earlier. And of course, we're going to be there with James Allen. He'll be calling a dance after with a fiddler, Courtney Drew from Lennoxville. So this marks the end of our formal presentation and live stream broadcast for those here in person. But if you want, stick around in person. We're going to have some tunes and some songs. I'll end the broadcast. So for those who have to leave now, have a great afternoon, everyone. Bon après-midi, tout le monde. Thank you again.